to episode 271 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 26th of February 2024. I'm Joe, and with me are Félim.
Already?
Graham.
Hello.
And Will.
Good evening.
So, instead of getting straight on with our discoveries like we normally do, we're going to have a completely brand new segment. Now, this is in no way completely stolen from Linux Voice. Thank you, Graham. But we're going to do Voice of the Masses. So, I posed a question on Mastodon from the Late Night Linux account, which you should follow. I'll link to that in the show notes. And the question was pretty simple. How do you keep your kids safe online? And we got quite a lot of replies. The first one was from Toot Brute. They said, my kids are only elementary aged, but I teach them about ads and how apps are tracking them. I teach them how to use Pi-hole and ad blockers. I try to install OK games for them and limit their playtime.
Thakawi2 says, dedicated VLAN and SSID for their devices. Firewall shuts off access at X PM. Better than scheduling the SSID because they can still access Wi-Fi lights, etc. this way. And Pi-hole with lots of block lists. Ouch.
Isn't that roughly what you do, Will?
Well, I've got Pi-hole set up, but I don't shut off their Wi-Fi at a certain time. I did used to have on their Windows PC, I used to have a policy with the Microsoft Family thingy that would limit the amount of time they got on the PC. But that became such a pain in the arse to administer and then just get nagged. Oh, can I have more time every bloody weekend? I just gave up with it.
But I seem to recall you using Pi-hole to block certain things at certain times for them.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So, yes, I do block certain websites. So YouTube is a good example. I have a block list which will stop them getting on YouTube, and I can turn that on and off via, well, I've got an Alexa skill, but they discovered the Alexa skill a couple of weeks ago, so now I've got to change it. But, yeah, no, I have a switch that I can toggle it on and off. However, if they are in YouTube already and it's not doing DNS lookups, then the Pi-hole block takes a little while to work because, you know, the cache on the local machine has to expire and so on and so on. So it's not foolproof, but it's good enough.
Sort of like snoozing your alarm.
Yeah.
You get that little grace period. Well, Yenov911 says, both my kids are already over 21 and no longer live with us. Of course, we had the discussions when they were growing up about online safety. But even now they're adults, they still tailscale into one of my Pi-hole servers and have it set as their DNS. So I think something of my rant stuck with them.
Is that not called Stockholm Syndrome?
No, that's pretty cool. You know, setting your kids up for success in life. Well done, I think.
I think I've just totally failed at parenting, to be honest, because all my 16-year-old daughter does is take photos of herself every 35 seconds and puts them on Snapchat. So it doesn't matter that, you know, all the ads are blocked with Pi-hole and that I turn the Wi-Fi off at a certain time of night. If she's spending all of her day doing that, then what hope have any of us got?
Well, that relates to something the doctor said. My kids are too young to use the web themselves, but rule number one for us has always been not to share any information about them, including pictures, on the publicly accessible web, especially not social media. We only share pictures via encrypted messaging or share links from my own Nextcloud. And if I catch anyone sharing these pictures via WhatsApp and the like, they're not getting any ever again. The goal is for my kids to be able to start with a clean slate when they're old enough for me to teach them how to navigate the web and make conscious choices about what to do on there. Like, for example, taking a photo every 30 seconds and... Does she stick her tongue out and do that V-sign business?
Oh, yeah. That'll be the first one of the 2-minute cycle. The second one will be a bit of a chin, then out of focus, then the other side of the camera, then the sunset, then her shoes. Meanwhile, all of her friends are doing the same thing, and it's just I don't know. Maybe she's right. Maybe life is just that inane. You may as well just take photos of yourself.
In my day, we just took photos of our dinner and posted that.
In my day, we didn't have cameras.
The thing is that I feel like I've become this kind of tech bore of the family. So everybody's eyes start to roll when I start talking about it. And this is the end result. I don't know. I feel like I should have been all over Facebook and WhatsApp and made them go on those things at like 3 years old. And maybe they'd have done the opposite.
Yeah. If you'd been on there, they wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah,
they?
Exactly.
I'm just wondering if there's a reverb helmet in your household that they put over you once you start.
Yeah, I think there is. Mentally, they don't even show. They're just taking photos of themselves secretly while they're listening to me.
Well, Taylor said, keep them offline at all costs. That's a bit extreme, that, isn't it? I don't think that's realistic.
No, I don't think so.
I think that potentially damaging because at some point they're going to discover it. And this is as it wasn't Homer Simpson, it was Chief Wiggum's forbidden cupboard of mystery. There's something so appealing about it. And so they will just seek it out in all of the wrong ways because it will be mysterious and forbidden. So my view is that an open approach to it. Here it is. It's full of crap. Be careful what you do on there. Here are some sensible precautions to take, and don't trust anybody is probably a more realistic approach.
Yeah, well, NoBug said education, it's the best tool. And 412 Linux said educating and having conversations with a child will be more impactful than any piece of software. My experience is that misinformation, scams, and false advertising have been bigger issues than explicit materials. I do use technology such as NextDNS to minimize issues. You have to do the actual work of parenting. It's hard. Especially when the child pulls the Sally can use app X, Y, or Z. Why can't I? Or I can't talk with my friends because they all use app X, Y, Z. And looking through these replies, there's a lot of NextDNS and people saying that they had an allow list for just a few sites. And CallJimmy84 said, my daughter is 7 and she is never left unattended online. We might not be looking over her shoulder, but the screen is always in our eye line. I don't know how realistic that is long term. Because we had other people who said that they're not getting them a phone, they'll only give them a desktop PC. But again, what do you do when all their friends are on Snapchat? Oh, well, if they were really your friends, they wouldn't be caring about you not being on Snapchat. That's not a realistic way to do parenting, is it?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I think we'd just like to point out how easy our parents had it. And I'd just like to send that to them all now and just tell them to shut up if they complain about what we used to do. But I think it's really difficult, but I think you have to be realistic. And I don't know if it's realistic to lock stuff off so entirely, because something will always get through. And if their pals have something that they don't, they're going to just melt your head until they do have it. Or you could be even leaving them out of a skill that, they might have to actually just learn anyway.
Well, yeah. If you're not careful, there'll be ending sentences in full stops on instant messengers, like you do, Graham, and not realizing that that's not the done thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, world.
You're just not down with the kids, are you?
I'm really not, no. I just don't fucking get it.
But there's quite a few themes here, like the use of Pi-hole and other DNS blocking and using ad blockers more generally. Yeah,
and I guess we all do. I mean, one thing that my mesh network has a guest network and it has the private network. And I use the guest network for all of the kids' stuff so that I can much easier. In fact, they don't see the other network. If they get the skills to see the other network, I'll be really impressed. And that works really well because I can throttle it. I obviously can control it separately. And it's also so much easier to just turn it all off.
Yeah, plus they don't get to see your mucky JPEGs collection.
Yeah, that's true. Everything goes through, yeah.
My 16-year-old son has got a Windows PC because he plays games all day, every day. And I went on his computer the other day to have a look at something and noticed that he'd installed a free VPN service. And I was quite heartened by the fact that he said, you know what, when I asked him about it. And when he said, yeah, I was using it because it was recommended on some website, blah, 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 fine. But what he said was that the thing he noticed is as soon as the VPN started up, all of the adverts and all the shit just flowed through onto his PC. And it was a worse experience than with Pi-hole there saving him from all this crap. So, yeah, I think education is the key. Look how bad it could be. Get used to using a nice, clean internet at home, and then when you start using one that's terrible, maybe you'll give a shit about this thing and go and ask your old dad what to do about it.
Well, this is all hypothetical to me, and Charlie very much summed up my thoughts when she said, my primary method is by not actually having kids and spending the money saved on not caring.
I use Arch, by the way.
Okay, this episode is sponsored by Tailscale. Go to tailscale.com/LNL. Tailscale is an easy-to-deploy, zero-config, no-fuss VPN that allows you to build simple networks across complex infrastructure. It's super simple to set up, And you can have machines and devices all over the world connected to each other as if they're on the same LAN in minutes. Tailscale is WireGuard on easy mode, and that's why loads of late-night Linux family hosts are Tailscale users. Amalith from Linux Dev Time uses Tailscale for his 3D printers, all his servers, and his home automation. And Gary from Linux After Dark and I both send our offsite backups to our parents' houses using Tailscale. So support the show and check out Tailscale for yourself. Go to tailscale.com/LNL and try Tailscale out for free for up to 100 devices and 3 users with no credit card required. That's tailscale.com/LNL. Let's do some discoveries then. Will, what is Quansheng UVK5?
Well, would you believe that it's a cheap Chinese radio?
It is not. I don't believe it.
It's yet another 10 quid radio that does a couple of frequencies. This one hasn't got quite the number of frequencies that the UV5R had, but nevertheless, it covers the majority of things that you might want to use your amateur radio license for. Incidentally, Ofcom, the UK regulator for radio and communications, have just changed the rules of what you can do with a foundation license. You should, incidentally, if you're listening in the UK, go and get your ham radio foundation license. It costs bugger all. It's quite straightforward. And now, instead of only 10 watts, you can transmit with 25 watts. And that's quite a significant amount of power. This radio, however, can only put out about 10 watts. But what do you expect for 10 quid? The really exciting thing, though, is that you can change the firmware for an open source one. And when you do that, you get a whole bunch of new features, including a spectrum analyzer on the little LCD screen on a 10 quid radio. So you can now use it for, scanning frequencies on the screen, see where there's activity and tune straight to it. A feature like this on a 10 quid radio is, I think, amazing. And for the sake of 10 quid and a 40 or something quid radio license, I recommend everybody go get one.
That is quite cool.
Who do you talk to with these things?
Old men.
Him and his good buddies.
All the truckers out there.
Coming at you.
Is it a bit like the Linux community?
It's a similar kind of vibe going on down there.
Well, do you talk about the various hardware and stuff that you're using? Is it quite navel-gazy like the Linux community? Like, we don't talk to each other about anything other than the tech that we're using, pretty much.
Very similar, yeah. If there's a competition on about who can talk to somebody the furthest away, then it's very much by the book.
Is that competition ever stop?
Well, they try and encourage people at a certain time of day and a certain day of the week to try and use atmospheric conditions to talk to people further away, just for fun. But the topic of conversation is typically, can you hear me? Yes, I can hear you. Where are you? How's the weather? What equipment have you got? Nice to speak to you. Goodbye. And then you're on to the next one. So it's quite good for people with, difficulties communicating in social situations like me, where you've got this formula that you can follow and you can just trot through it. And then, hooray, I have achieved human interaction. And then go on to the next one.
Félim, you've got an AI discovery?
It's machine learning. Get it out of your system now. It's machine learning. Shut up.
All right, so AI. Tell us all about how you love AI.
I don't love AI, and it's not AI. It's machine learning, as I have said. It's very annoying. So, right, let's start at the start. There is software available for flight sims where it can track your head and allow you to pan around the cockpit, which is quite handy when you're trying to fly with your hands on the stick and the throttle, and then you want to look left without having to either use the POV thing with your thumb, which is usually shit, or just lump it and pretend that you can see left and not actually have that ability. So it would be nice to be able to do something with your hands free. There's lots of utilities or bits of hardware you can buy, which are like infrared LEDs that you can strap on your head if you've got a headset, or if you've got a cap. There's ones that you can attach to that so it knows where your face is roughly by looking at the 3 LEDs. And then using a camera with no infrared filter to detect where you are. And all those things are hardware and they cost money. And I just thought, I really wish there was a way to just make use of a decent quality webcam, and it would just look at your face and use something like OpenCV or whatever to say, well, there's a set of eyes and they're pointing that way, and then use that. So OpenTrack is the thing which allows you to sort of get I think they say 6 degrees of freedom, which I think is like, moving towards the camera away, left, right, rolling your head, and then tilting your head, all those things. And this project is called AI Track, which feeds into that as a way to use the actual web camera to detect where your eyes are and what you're looking at. And it is pretty good. It's not foolproof yet. And I think I have to do a bit more tweaking with it because it doesn't seem to do my face being further or away from the camera. I have to roll my head in order to do that. So one of the axes is mixed up on it, but it's still pretty impressive.
I like how you went close and then far away from the mic when you said that.
I know, trying to give the whole, atmospheric effect here.
Yeah, nice.
So it's quite cool. I use it in flight gear. You can use it. That's where OpenTrack comes in because it can talk to a lot of the applications. And then AI Track, in this case, is the one that feeds the positional information of your face into it. And then you can use it in loads of different flight simulators like Microsoft Flight Sim. Oh, what's the other one? The fancy one for shooting people down and stuff. Forgotten the name of it, but it's a really big one. And then Flight Gear has one as well, where you're just essentially sending a UDP stream into a port number on it. And there's a simple XML file that you can configure. And yeah, I was actually flying a plane. I was able to tilt my head left and right and roughly get it to do it correctly. The idea is that you set it so a small movement of your head is a larger movement in the game. So you obviously still need to look at the screen while you're tilting your head slightly to the left or right or whatever. But it's pretty cool. Not fully there, but it's getting there.
I think it needs more AI to get it there.
Well, see, the thing is, it actually doesn't use that much of it to do that. All it does for that is to recognize where the face is. And there's actually quite a funny video when you run it and you activate it. You can actually see where it locates your eyes, your eyebrows, your nose, and your mouth. And I think that it's a static sort of image. I don't know what the model is or what they use it. It's some Microsoft project, I believe. But yeah, it's a fairly stable thing. And it's quite old, actually. Like in the case of several years before all the AI bullshit took over. So it's safe. I feel happy using it.
Félim happy using AI. You heard it here first.
It's machine learning. It's not AI. Shut up.
Is it Windows only, Félim?
No, I'm using this on Linux. So I've Linux machine. I've got a nothing special Advent 1080p HD camera, which is just a really cheap one that I got. Well, it wasn't cheap because it was fucking peak COVID at that point, but it's just standard web camera. And I can upload a video of me turning my head on it and then you can see it. But yeah, it's amazing how simple it is. Really simple to get. You just download the AI Track, download OpenTrack, and there's essentially I think it's a tarball of the machine learning module, okay. And then that's it. That just gets dumped into a directory, and that's literally it. It's just I don't know, maybe there's some sort of binary format of what the face should look like to it, and that's what it uses.
Do I understand correctly then? You turn your head slightly to the left or right, and it then on the screen, what you see is way more to the left than the right.
Yeah, there's actually a curve where you can set how much of that you want to do. And I figure that mainly my problem is I didn't balance mine correctly, and I probably need to just tell it a bit more, because unfortunately my monitor is quite high, because I would get terrible neck pain if my monitor was down low. So the top of my monitor is actually above my head, and that's where the camera sits. So it's probably not ideal for this case, but it does certainly make it better for me during the day. So I look at this, my eye line is directly at the center of my screen, and I think realistically the camera should be there. But to be honest, it actually makes quite a good difference on it. It's amazing how well it works.
Well, that sounds utterly crazy, and I'm not interested in that. That's weird. You turn your head a little bit, and then you pretend you're looking left, except you're not. But I tell you where I do think this would be useful. For the longest time I can remember, I want focus the window that I'm looking at. And this, I think, could do that for me. So I'm going to try and explore that. And if, I'll report back in a few weeks and see.
It's when RM stars your machine. You're like, oh, I was looking at that.
I've had exactly the same thoughts, because I did a tutorial once about creating like one of those DIY infrared LED trackers using this and OpenCV. And I think people had got that working for moving the mouse pointer, and that would be so useful, I agree.
I bring a lovely flight simulator thing and you two ruin it with practical stuff. Would you stop?
On to a bit of admin then. First of all, thank you everyone who supports us with PayPal and Patreon. We really do appreciate that. If you want to join those people, you can go to latenightlinux.com/support. And remember that for various amounts on Patreon, you can get an advert-free RSS feed of either just this show or all the shows in the Late Night Linux family. And remember that quite a lot of episodes show up a day or so early in the Patreon feed. And if you want to get in contact with us, you can email show@latenightlinux.com. Okay, this episode is sponsored by Automox. Are you prepared for whatever shitstorm may hit your desk during the workday? Automox has your back. Check out the brand new Autonomous IT podcast. Listen in as various IT experts discuss the latest Patch Tuesday releases, mitigation tips, and custom automations to help with CVE remediations. Make new work friends. Listen now to the Autonomous IT podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you tune into your podcasts. Graham, Neon Modem Overdrive.
Yeah, this is a console interface to Hacker News stories that looks just like you've dialed in and opened up Hacker News on a BBS. It's really good.
That is actually really cool.
Yes.
God damn it. I wanted to hate this so much.
All right, an open source lighting rig control with QLC Plus.
Yeah, this is one of those amazing applications that's been developed for years and I'd never heard of it and seems to be replacing commercial lighting systems. So this is like in a theatre setting or in a gig setting where you've got big lighting rigs. They all communicate over some protocol called DMX. With this, you can get a really cheap DMX dongle, like less than £10, plug it into the software QLC. You can describe your lighting configuration, and then you can control the colors and the effects, all within this kind of IDE for lighting, if you're into that. It's amazing. It's really mature. I tried it out. It works. And it's like, it's a major application that I love the fact that these things exist just flying under the radar.
Isn't DMX used in concert venues and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, it's exactly the same protocol. And, you know, these places spend tens of thousands on big mixing consoles for controlling lights with their own proprietary format for effects. QLC Plus does all this with a Qt-based application and open source. It's incredible.
I approve of this message.
And it also tells you that X going to give it to you.
Oh.
And what's Envio?
This is something else I just discovered a couple of weeks ago. It's a way of managing environment variables on your console. So I don't know, I'm terrible. I don't know, could you call it environment variable hygiene? I have them all running all the time. Some of them have got some horrible kind of API keys and not so much passwords, but there's a lot of stuff there that would give away a lot. And it's available on my console all the time. Envio is basically a kind of a GPG encrypted container for a set of environment variables. It's a bit like PASS, but for environment variables. You kind of open one set, use them, close them, and open another set and use them so that you dynamically switch between setups of environment variables for doing certain things, like maybe, I don't know, using OpenStack or SSHing and building on a different machine without any of them overlapping. It's all simple, easy to understand, GPG encrypted. And I found it really useful and makes me feel a lot better about putting passwords in environment variables.
All right, well, a couple of episodes ago, we talked about Spotify replacements. We mentioned SpotTube. We never got to the bottom of how to say that. And Félim, you mentioned AudioTube, a KDE app. Well, Tom emailed in to suggest InnerTune, which is available on F-Droid. That's where I got it. It might be on the Play Store. I don't care. And it's basically the same thing. And it works really well. It's just a sort of simple UI to get music from YouTube. So if you're not obsessed with quality and you're fine with just YouTube quality, it's over Bluetooth anyway on shit headphones. I don't care. It's fucking brilliant. It's really well designed. It seems to have loads of features. I've only used it briefly because I keep forgetting about it, but it's a brilliant recommendation from Tom. So thank you very much. Another one to add to the list. And something from a few weeks ago now is Damn Small Linux 2024. It's back after a very long time. Who remembers Damn Small Linux being 50 megabytes?
Jesus. Scary.
Yeah. And that was always my sort of go-to on like really, really shit old hardware just to make sure it was working. Well, after a long absence, it's back. And now it's based on Antix. Is it Anti-X or Antix? I never know. That Debian-based, very lightweight distro. Well, this is even more lightweight. And instead of trying to fit into 50 megabytes, come on, it's 2024. Now it fits into a CD, 700 megabytes, which is quite a bit bigger, but that is still pretty damn small for a Linux distro these days. And because it's based on Antix, which is based on Debian, you've got apt on it, and you've got just everything you would imagine you can get from Debian. So it's not quite as impressive as it once was, and you've got tiny core and stuff now, which is even lighter weight. But it's interesting to see that it's still going.
I don't know what I would use it for anymore. In the old days, it was something that you could stick on a USB stick when the USB sticks were ridiculously small, or that you could download over a DSL line relatively easily. I just don't know what I would use it for anymore. The fact that you can get apt makes it a lot more powerful. I think that's a really nice feature. But I can't think of a use for it anymore, and I'm a bit sad about that.
I think shitty old hardware that's 32-bit only, for example, it's just an easy way to get up and running quickly with that, rather than going through the palaver of downloading Debian, installing it, go through the net install or whatever. This will just boot to a live session that you can get going straight away in.
Yeah, maybe this is a first world problem that I don't have any hardware like that anymore.
Yeah, you consider shitty old hardware to be your X270 that's gathering dust.
Yeah.
Which is a great little machine.
Yeah, I've zero nostalgia for that. I don't understand why anybody would want less out of their computer. Jesus, they're powerful enough. You might as well use it for something valuable, but...
What, so you never tried out Puppy and stuff like that?
No, I didn't see the point.
Did you never have really shit old hardware to try it on?
Yeah, but I tried to get my decent stuff to work on it. When I started using KDE, I was using it on terrible machines and a terrible Sony Vaio laptop at the time as well. So, I just went for it and got it to work there. I don't know. I don't like the whole point of stepping back, because if your desktop's not doing much for you, then surely what's the point? You just use a terminal at that point.
True, but with this, you've got a very lightweight desktop that also has the benefit of Debian and all the packages, although with it being 32-bit, you are somewhat limited in what you can actually install these days and what's properly maintained and supported.
Yeah. Let it go, man.
No, I will never throw away a perfectly good laptop, even if it's 32-bit and terrible. And I like to think that, one day I'll install something like this on it and it'll be really good and I'll be able to use it. Or give it to someone, inflict it on someone.
Yeah, inflict is definitely the right term to use there.
Will, NRF sniffer.
I've been playing with some Bluetooth lights again, of course, it's been the weekend. But interestingly, I got an update to my new Android phone. So I think I talked about this, I bought the cheapest Android phone I could find on Amazon. And it came with a reasonably new version of Android, maybe 12 or 13. And going through the usual way of enabling the developer options, enable Bluetooth logging, download the logging file locally, open it up in Wireshark, all fine. Then it had an update and they changed the way that Android does Bluetooth logging. And now they're truncating the data to like the first 5 bytes or something. So you can't do this anymore. And I don't suppose that's by accident. I think that this is probably on purpose to stop people like me piddling around with things that they shouldn't be. And so I was looking for an alternative. Nordic Semiconductor make a very good range of Bluetooth and general wireless devices. They're a well-respected big player in the silicon industry, and they have a dongle, which is a USB, it's basically a PCB that just happens to be the right size to fit in the USB socket. And this radio will do Bluetooth and Zigbee and Thread and Matter and all of that stuff, all in software. You just upload the correct firmware to it, and it will become a device like that. And one of the devices it can become is a Bluetooth sniffer. In order to flash this device, you hold down a button and plug it in, and then you have to use their application, which is open source, and they have a Linux version of it. It's packaged as an app image, and you just run it, and it works, and it will connect to your device and allow you to flash this NRF sniffer software to it, which is also all open source and available, and you can change it however you like. So you put it all on there. You flash it, and now this device is just listening to all of the Bluetooth in the local area and logging it via a serial port. They also provide a plugin for Wireshark that allows you to hook up to that serial port and import that data straight into Wireshark and view it live as it's coming in, which is pretty neat. And they also provide a profile for Wireshark that allows you to view the data in a much more understandable way. So they're all in on open source software, especially around Wireshark, which is great. So for about 10 quid, you can buy this device. The software is open source. You can see how it all works. They integrate with the best in class, in my opinion, network monitoring software, which is Wireshark. And it's all very easy to install. It all worked first time. So really well done to Nordic for going the extra mile and making it easy to integrate into open source.
Such a late hacker, Will.
I think they should ban him, much like the Flipper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, how come we not got one of them, Will?
The man won't let me buy one.
Is the man your wife who saw the credit card bill for all your China purchases and just went, fuck off?
Who's this AliExpress person? Right, well, we'd better get out of here then. We'll be back next week when it'll probably be news and stuff, but we'll have to see. Until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Félim.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.